All right, welcome back to the live session for the afternoon. Today is Monday, December the 18th. Just want to welcome you all to the channel. And in just a second, we're going to take a look at the markets and take a peek to see exactly where where price is now, where it's gone this morning, and then we'll come up with an idea of where things may be headed this afternoon. Okay, let me just get the entire lunch session in focus here. Okay. Let's see. So let's shift out to the daily chart. Let's start with the daily. Okay. Let's get to the commodities second. Let's do the dollar first. So the first thing I want to do is take a peek at the dollar and see where we are. Okay. Not a lot of movement today. Not much at all, really. For the dollar, we have a few areas that may be interesting today. Let me just highlight these. Okay, we have this volume imbalance that's wide open. That's not too far from where we are now. Let's just make this a little bigger. Right, and then we have a rather large bearish fair value gap. So as we look at where the dollar is now, I would expect for some type of bullish movement, either up into this gap. There's actually another gap here. Right, we have a fair value gap, we have a volume imbalance, and an even larger fair value gap. So there's a lot of area here for a bullish candle to trade into, and then we still see bearish prices overall. But in the short term for the dollar, we may see prices climb a bit. Let's look at the hour and see if there's anything worth noting. Nope. I mean, we do see lower lows. We see equal highs, 5 or 6 of them up over here from Friday afternoon. So we could see that actually as the target, which would then take us into potentially this new day opening gap from the 13th, which is likely the same area as that volume imbalance from the daily chart. So I think I'm bullish on dollar. Definitely bullish on dollar. Let's move over to the Nasdaq. Okay, let's take off some of these drawings. Let's get back to the daily. Okay, we can see that so far today, the candle's been bullish. We had equal highs from Thursday and Friday, relative equal highs. I think Friday beat it by a couple points. But we see that has already been taken this morning, already making new highs. And if you remember from last week, if you were on the session, we talked about last week's highs being the high of the year. So we do have year-to-date highs again. We'll see where price ends for the year, but this is the last full week of trading. Next week, Monday, I believe, is Christmas, and we'll have low volume leading into the weekend of New Year's. And then the following week, New Year's is on the same day on Monday, so that'll also be an abbreviated week. So this is the final full trading week of the year, and it looks like price continues to make new highs. So we'll end the year around the all-time high levels, most likely, or not all time, but the yearly high levels. Okay, let's drop down to the 4-hour. See if we see anything that says we may be bearish. Don't see anything other than the fact that we made highs and we'll need to retrace at some point. But we did see this entire area where there were gaps from middle of last week. We saw that traded into throughout Thursday, and then it's been bullish ever since. Okay, we have equal lows here. If we now that we're on the hour, oops, sorry, too much lipstick on there. We have equal lows right here at 16,756. So that may be area to pay attention to, 16,750. Outside of that, anywhere below these candle bodies where this wick is, this is the fair value gap is still open. So that's down to 625-ish. Right, 10 minutes. Okay, we have fair value gaps on the 15 minutes below down to 920, also down at the upper eights, 880-ish. So there's a few areas that price can be bearish and trade into, and overall we remain bullish. So let's drop down to the 30-second, which is where we're looking for setups. And remember, we're still scalping, looking for one-to-one trades, 5-point stop loss, 5-point take profit. And right now, if we just take a peek at what happened over lunch, for everyone who's rejoining from the morning session, just before the morning session, I did take a setup, a long, I believe it was right here. And then we had this huge crash down in one candle. It was literally 2 or 3 seconds. It shot all the way down and then started to retrace a bit. But then immediately following, then it bought up into the area that I was hoping it to buy into for profit on the trade setup here. So price has still been bullish, even though we've seen some lows swept throughout just before lunch. We saw the lunch hour bullish through about 12:15, and now it's just been a lot of sideways action since 12:15. So we're just gonna continue to monitor where price is and not get too overly anxious to jump in. But we have this consolidation zone that we want to see price exit out of and close candles. So yeah, let's just be patient and wait for price to give us an indication of where the afternoon session is going. Don't worry about this sell limit down here. This is actually left over from an earlier trade, and for whatever reason I try to cancel it and it won't go anywhere. So it says failed to cancel because the trade is already closed. This is some type of glitch. Actually, what I'm going to do, let me just log out quickly. And let me log back in. It's still there. I don't know what's going on, but it's not active because when price traded through here, it didn't do anything. So again, to all new people, welcome. To all returning subscribers, welcome back. Let's get ready for a good afternoon session. And this is back. Still room for the upside. 16,940. Okay. While we're waiting for price to break out of here, let's go back and look and see when was price last in this area at 16,900-ish. Oops. In order to get that, we likely need to go to the continuous contract. Go to the daily. All right. This, we might have to, wow, okay. Okay, so we're at all-time highs. I did not realize that we had taken over the 2022 high as well. Alrighty. That puts a little wrinkle in our analysis. Not really a wrinkle, but it's a good thing, actually. The prices has never been this high before. All right. puts things into perspective. So let's check our other indices then. Let's check ES and see where ES is as far as all time. Okay, so ES is very close. You're talking about another 15 points maybe. What's that? 48.08, and we're at 47.95. Right, so we're talking less than 15 points, and ES will also hit all-time highs. This is, for anyone who's been trading for years, if you take a peek at the end of 2021, I believe, we hit all-time highs either the last week of the month or like the first week of 2022, and sold off from there, all of 22 pretty much. In 2023, we've just been battling back, trying to reclaim those levels. And as we can see, we have fully reclaimed those levels. Let's get to where we are. Let's get off of the daily, get back down to the 30-second. Oops. Okay. Got to be a faster way to do that, but either way. So we're still in the middle of this consolidation zone. We're right at the 50% mark now. We keep trading above, below, above, right at the 50%, above, back to 50%. So let's just let price continue to bounce around until it settles. And then we'll look for our position. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to jump back to the hour. Actually, let's go a little higher. Let's go back to the daily. And it says we have an SMT on the Dow. So let's check that out and see where we are. Okay, the Dow still has not made a new high. Let's see, but it did make an all-time high quite some time ago. The Dow made an all-time high last week on Tuesday, actually. So the Dow is really the leader. The Dow has led the other indices from last week into new highs. Dow first, the Nasdaq ES, as we just mentioned, is about 15 points away. So likely sometime this afternoon, if we get some bullish momentum, we'll reach that. But we do see a resistance towards higher prices on the Dow. It has not reached the highs of Friday, like the other two indices. So good call, Anis. We do have SMT here. Down 30-second. Go and grab our tools for later when we need them. Okay, looks like we got a little peek outside of this little consolidation area. Um, this box I made, there's no real science to it, so there's no trades or anything to take outside of the box or any retracement because there's really none. I just kind of highlighted the area so I'll know when it traded out of it. So I'll delete that now. So we see higher prices still being put in. So we will continue the bullish trend until price shows us otherwise. Okay, a new high. So price is still pushing upwards, pushing forward. Still can't get this limit to disappear. Okay, we're looking for a high to be, a low to be swept. So this is the closest swing low to us right now. So let's see if price wants to trade down to this level. It's about 5 points away. Okay, let's shift this upward since now we have a higher swing low. So we have a new high, which represents step one. Let's see if we can get a new low. Well, lower low, and then return to take out this high and put in a higher value. Okay, we still haven't had a retracement, but higher values have been put in. So let me go ahead and put in this fair value gap so we can see it on the screen and be aware of it when price trades back down. Okay, another one. Okay, this is still our swing low that we're looking for, down at 940, 16,940. Okay, so we needed to play through this fair value gap onto the other side. Okay, that's happened now. We need a closure on that side and we need lower prices. Okay. We did have a rejection on this candle from this recently created fair value gap, although it looks like it's now trading above. Let's see where it closes or if we get a rejection back down. But either way, we can move our swing low to here. All right, as we're watching price climb higher, remember Anis mentioned that there was SMT with the Dow and the dollar. Oh, I'm sorry, the Dow with the ES, and that is true. Remember, today is Monday, and on Mondays, a lot of Mondays actually, there's no news. Today was another one of those where there wasn't any news. So there is still price action, but without the news, um, either the dollar or one of the indices is generally not flowing the way that you expect it. And so price can be a little wonky, even though, I mean, there's still trades to be made. It's not the same, which is why a lot of veteran traders only trade on red folder days when there's high volatility and price is aggressively moving towards a particular target. When you don't have news, there's still price action, but there's price doesn't necessarily always move towards the target. And that's why sometimes you get back and forth, you get consolidation, you get As of now, it's at an all-time high, but it's still climbing, right? It's climbing. We didn't get a retracement over lunch. So now the question is, when will we get a retracement? So those kind of things happen when there's an absence of red folder news. But like I said, there's still price action, so we're still trading today. There's still winning trades out there, and we're going to look for them. Okay, so far, all the lows have been protected, even from down here. You see a swing low. Let me just point them out to you. We had a swing low here, and we had another one here. This one, the last one to be taken was likely this one here. The last swing low taken. This one's still protected. This one hasn't been taken. This one here. Now we're sitting at this one. We just created a new one, so let's shift up to this. Well, actually, that was a bit early. We need this candle to close above. Okay, let's go back. I was premature. $17,700. Wait a minute. I go here. Daily. The all-time high was at 17,700. I'm showing it it's 16,766. Sorry. Wrong contract. This is the one we trade from. There we go. Okay, so now I can shift this up to here. Okay, now we have another swing low taken. See how far down, how big a retracement is willing to do. Let me put a Fibonacci on the entire range from the lunchtime low till now. Okay, 50% is down at 16,938. So let's keep that in mind. Okay, let's mark up our next target just so we're all aware. We are looking for new highs to be put in. So 16,956. Okay, little volume imbalance here. See if price can stay above. Hey, let's get rid of that. We don't need that anymore. We still have these two zones here where we could see a bullish bounce from. We did get it from here the last time it was down around 16,946. We did get a strong reaction into a new high. Let's just keep looking to see where the next fair value gap is if this one fails. Okay, so if that one fails, the next fair value gap is here. Okay. Okay, we've had not only this low swept, but now we've had a second one taken. So we can get rid of this line now that we've seen multiple lows taken. Remember, as we're retracing here from the lunchtime low until the most recent high, remember the 50% zone is here, where we'd like to see it trade back into 50% to balance price, trade into a discount of any area below 50%, and then continue long. If we're going to get longs this afternoon, that's probably a good place for that to happen. So as it's retracing, I'm going to continue watching. I think it's going to target the 50% area, or at least that's where I'm hoping it's going. So I'm going to wait until that happens. Or a new high is put in. One of those two things. I'm waiting until I see that. While we're waiting, I want to welcome all newcomers to the channel. I also welcome returning members back, either subscribers or just those who have been to the live session before. Welcome back to the session. It's good to have you again. And if you're new, say hello, jump in the chat and let us know where you're from and how long you've been trading. Right, we're gonna delete these items since we don't need them anymore. We still have this fair value gap that's open. I'm hoping we retrace down to 50% at least, so I'm not really relying on this fair value gap to hold. But I do want to be aware of it just in case price does bounce. I'll have an idea why it did that. But let me just continue down and look and see where else might there be a gap. Okay, I like this one. I like this one for multiple reasons, but mostly because the 50% of this gap is at 50% retracement level of the last big price move up. So that's a good area to pay attention to. We are on the 30 seconds, so I mean, you do see a lot of fair value gaps. So I apologize if this is a bit cluttered for some of you, um, but it does help us see where turnaround points might lie. Okay, nope, I'm gonna delete that one. Okay, I think we have everything we need to continue monitoring price from where it currently is. Okay, right now it's creating a channel. We're seeing lower highs. We're also seeing lower lows. Right. Danae Fielder, welcome to the chat. Welcome to the channel. Glad you found us. And if you could like the channel, that'll help YouTube push it out to others looking for the same. And just like you found us, others can as well. But welcome to the community. Any questions you have, throw them in the chat or just comments or whatever. But it's good to have you. It's putting in slightly higher prices. Let's pay attention to these relative equal highs here. And let's drop these trend lines. These relative equal highs. Let's see if it wants to tag in and just make sure that liquidity is pulled out for anyone who's short. Because we still haven't made it down to 50%, which is where I'd like price to go. Charles, welcome in Nashville. Been there a couple times. I'm actually a former UT student in Knoxville about 25 years ago or so. But welcome to the channel. Hope to see you in the future as well. Okay, about 15 minutes. I just passed that. A little closer, maybe 10 minutes to the hour. So let's get ready for the macro and also the 2 o'clock hour, which generally is good for trading. Sometimes it can consolidate for the entire hour, but for the most part, 2 o'clock is a good time to trade. Go Vols. There you go. Yeah, my it's funny. My freshman year was the national championship year, so I got started with a bang and just totally engulfed in college football. Okay, we're still playing in this zone between these equal highs and this low that was put in at the 50% of this fair value gap. So we're gonna continue monitoring and wait for price to decide which way it's going. I want to see it reach these highs. I was hoping it would take out this low first, but either way, we react to price. We don't force price on the market. Here we got another equal high. Let's see if price can push through and close on the other side. Okay, there we go. Push up, close on the other side. It's a good sign. And now the last target to confirm bullish momentum. So right here. And then from there, we have the beginnings of a potential setup. Okay, we saw price make a new high, but we also saw it retrace and close back into the zone. We'd like to see it close above if we could. So let's give this next couple candles a chance to see what they want to do. Yeah, I don't have a lot of indicators on here. It's mostly price action because I'm doing a scalping model of a 1-to-1 5-point take profit, 5-point stop loss. And so what we're looking for is, for instance, now that we've made a new high, what we're going to look for now is we want to see a low swept. And in this case, we have these equal lows here. So if price can dip back, actually, before it gets there, we have a swing low here. So if price can get below this swing low and then race towards getting a new high, then what we'll do is, for instance, we'll take this level here as being manipulation when price runs down and then it runs back up. Once it crosses over to make a new high, we'll look for a retracement into somewhere in this area, 30%, and then 5 points up. So leaving from here at 16,955. Okay, so we'll be looking for taking profit at 16,960. So it'll be just right here. Let me move this because this is not validated yet. So we do need a swing low to be taken. We do have a closer one now. Longs are a bit tricky right now just because we're sitting, if you've been here for the last hour or so, we're sitting at like all-time highs. And so because of that, there's really nothing to go off of as far as, you normally look to the left and you look back the last time price was in that area, and you look for inefficiencies or places that price may seek. And we're in sort of new territory right now. So, um, so it's actually pretty good that we're doing a scalp because we're not looking for price to run up too far. We just need 5 points, and it's not even 5 points from the high; it's 5 points from the 30% retracement. Wait a minute. Let's go back here. Let's throw it on the weekly. Mm, yeah, things a bit off here. Not sure exactly what's happening here. But Anis, you were right. All-time highs is at 17,708. 17,708. And that's where this point here is. This shouldn't be at 16.7. This should be about 300 points higher. Something's not lining up exactly. Um, so we're not at all-time highs, but we are at 2023 highs. And because we're reaching that area of all-time highs, there was a big bearish move once it did reach all-time highs, pretty much January 1st of 2022. So there is quite a few fair value gaps up in this area, bearish ones, that's going to hold price and probably limit the moves up. But we're going to still look for longs because price is showing us that that's what it's doing. Let me just get back to the 30-second chart. I apologize for the confusion. I was just going off of what this chart shows, and it shows that these are all-time highs, but that's not true. Let's put this back on the quarterly. Okay. Okay, so we've had our low swept while I was on the other screen. Now we're still looking for highs. We remove this one. We're going to look for this high to be swept. We're going to look at this as our manipulation zone. Probably take an entry at 50% this go round. If we can get one. But first we need to make a new high. So let's wait for that. That's probably it. You're right. Good point. Good point. So it's adjusting for the contract changes. It does shift priced up about 300 points. Thank you for that, Anis. Thank you very much. I know I would have figured it out if I played around with it for a few minutes, but all right. Okay, cool. Okay, 2 o'clock it is. 2 o'clock. I am not on a gold buy. I'm not looking at gold at all, actually. Is that what you're trading? Are you trading gold? Use John? Everyone in the chat, thank you. Everyone in the room. I think this is probably the most concurrent viewers we've had so far. And so I want to thank everyone for joining. I thank you for being here. We're having a good session today. And if you could do me a favor and like the video, since we have so many people in here, I'd love to I would love for YouTube to promote us to others looking for live trading sessions so we can get even larger. Please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Thank you. All right, let's move this out of the way. Yeah, in the lower left-hand corner of the screen, I have the 5-minute up. If anyone is interested, based on the 2 o'clock, a lot of times there is a fair value gap entry. And there's plenty of areas for price to trade into and bounce from. Let me remove that. There we go. Okay, so far struggling to make a new high, but all is not lost yet. Lows are still being protected, still making higher lows. So we'll just be patient and wait a little longer. Where am I trading at? I'm not actively in a trade, but if you ask me where I'm from, I'm in Arizona, USA. But I'm not actively in a trade. I'm just looking. I'm looking for a scalp, but first I need a new high to be made, and then I'll look for a scalp somewhere in this area, somewhere down here. Okay, we just saw higher price put in. You know what? Let me shift this down a bit. Alrighty, what just happened here? So I have my trade set up to enter at 50%. It has not retraced down there, but anyone who got in at 30%, you won your trade. Congratulations. It tapped exactly 30%. And then 2 candles later, it exited. 5-point win. Congratulations to anyone who took that trade. It's now made a new high. So it may retrace back down for a second entry, but I'm not interested in a second entry. So I'm going to wait for the next setup and just cancel my limit order. Should have been a little quicker, but I wasn't. Anyone who was, again, congratulations. All right, let me just walk you through that setup. All right, so you start by first finding a trend in the market, which we found to be bullish after this high here. So we want to label that. Then we want to see a retracement. So we want to see price sweep a low. We had a swing low right here, which was swept as price traded down. Right. The next step is you want to see that previous high taken out. So you want to see price continue in the direction. So we saw price, I mean, it was slow. It took time, but it eventually took out that high and made a new high here, even closed above. So from there, we have the last move down as a manipulation, just trying to trick people. And for that, we want to then put a Fibonacci on it. And the most aggressive entry would be at 30%. Next would be 50%, and last would be 70%, depending on how what your risk tolerance is and how much you believe in the setup. And so from there, if you took the 30% entry, this candle right here, tapped it exactly, and then 2 candles later, it was out. So since it tapped and then went off, there was zero drawdown. Anyone entering that trade had zero drawdown. And this is why I didn't want to enter on the re-entry, because the setup had already occurred. A new high had been made. So now potentially when there's a retracement, what will happen is this order block structured here, it'll continue on until it finds a fair value gap or something else to make it turn around. So I don't like to take entries after they've occurred and delivered, and then a new extreme was made. Right. So now that we have this high made, we're looking for a low to be swept, which we do have right here. So now a new high is another setup. Mm. Yep. Yeah, Joe, I think one of the issues is there's a slight delay from when I say something and then when you see it. I believe it's somewhere around 15 or 20 seconds, maybe up to 30 seconds. Um, there was, so even if I enter a trade, it could already pass by the time you see it. That's why what I'm doing is I'm trying to show you what the setups look like, so you can see them on your own. Also, I'm encouraging you to back test, so you also get better at seeing them and also trusting the setups. But I'll continue to mark them up. I'll continue to call them out. The last one, I was just too slow to get in. So by the time it came down and tapped in, it was already up in this area, as opposed to where it entered right here, and there was zero drawdown. So if you didn't already have your limit order, there wasn't an opportunity to get in. Um, about the screen. Yep. Sure thing. Yes. If I enter the trade, I'll let you know that I'm in. Um, but I didn't make the last one. I was too slow. I didn't get in. All right. Assuming we can make a new high, this setup would have a 30% entry at 16,957 and a half, 50% entry at 16,955 and a half. Mm. Oh, still not a new high. No high yet. Pick that off. Let's mark that up so we can easily see it when we get a new high. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. That was aggressive. Let's see. So that was right around the 67 mark. So it's about 10 points away from our entry. Let's see if it can now retrace back in. Otherwise, what we're going to do is abandon this entry and look for another one. Now let's drop these down. Okay, let's delete some of these lines so it's a little cleaner to look at. Okay, equal lows. And now we'll push through. Good deal. There we go. All right, filled at 16,957 and 3/4. Got in at 30% at the most aggressive location. And let's now see how price action works and whether we'll get a winning trade. All right, let's see what happens. That's so far we're not getting any higher prices. If you look at all the candles downwards, every high has been protected. Each subsequent candle makes a lower high. So that's not looking good for us. Let's hope we get a reversal of that before the trade's over. Get a high taken, like this previous candle. That'll be a start. Okay, this could be a start. Let's see. All right, so we got the first candle high taken, first one. Can we get some momentum off of that? Yep. Okay, that's at least a move in the right direction. So let's hope that continues. I don't really want to see price go below here, so I'm gonna reduce my risk. In fact, I'm now gonna reduce my risk all the way. Let's see where we land. All right. A little nerve-wracking, but we made it through. We'll take it. We'll take it. Everyone who believed in the setup and jumped in at 30% retracement or 50%, congratulations. Let's move over to the sideline. Continue to monitor price again. Yep. So remember, this is $100 per contract on the minis. If you're doing micros, it's probably $10 per contract. But yeah, so $100 per contract. So pretty much any account size can accommodate this trade. It's just whether you want to do one contract, 2, 3, or 5. Right. Thank you. Thank you so much. So much. The more subscribers we get, the better. The larger the community gets, the better. Thank you for joining. Anyone else on the fence, please consider subscribing. The beauty about this last setup was because the last high was considerably distance away from the previous. Well, not a considerable, but it wasn't just like a wick above and then a retracement. It went above and stayed above for 10 or 12 points. So therefore, this retracement level that we were looking for brought us down, and we could achieve the 5-point take profit without eclipsing the high. When you need to eclipse the high to get your 5 points, that one's a bit more difficult because then you need a new high to be placed, which, as we all know, is much harder than to just play in the zone. And in this case, all we needed it to do was to just play in the zone and deliver in this upper region, and that was TP for us. Anyone looking for the 70%, if it had delivered to 70%, I mean, those are obviously the easiest ones or the most favorable ones from a risk perspective. And occasionally what you'll see is a re-entry down, and it's to allow the 70% entry level to then get in. Now that we've gotten in, and on top of that, 2 or 3 setups in the same area, I'd rather not take another one here. So I want to see price continue upwards, continue to put in new highs. Then I want to see a sweep of a low. So the closest low is now here. And then we want to see price continue upwards, and we'll look for another long. Yes, Echelon, the Seeker. I am. I go live every morning at 10 o'clock New York. And so far I've been going live in the afternoons at 1 p.m. New York. You're welcome. Yes, so this scalping model is one I saw someone else using back in, I guess, early October. And so I started back testing and spent 3 or 4 weeks just trying it out and trying to see how I could gain an edge. I still have my days where it doesn't work as well. I'm trying to understand when the market is not conducive for this strategy. But for the most part, it seems to work on all time frames, seems to work an Asia session early in the morning or London. So it's just really flexible, and especially for part-time traders where you only have a couple hours at a time to be on the market, this strategy works pretty well. Yeah, me too. I hope no one's shorting this. I had a short in overnight, which I actually didn't even realize I did until I woke up this morning, and unfortunately, price was going against me. Okay, let's shift our swing low up. And anyone in the chat who thinks this 30-second just moves too slow and doesn't provide enough opportunities, I challenge you to use the 15-second. You can also trade off of this. It happens a little faster. You get more sweeps of the opposite direction, which gives you more setups. Um, so during your back test, try this one out as well. I started on the 15-second and realized it was just too fast for me to recognize a setup, put in my long tool, go in with the limit order and then get filled. 15 seconds was just too quick for me. But for anyone who wants to try it, it's also a successful time frame. Go back to the 30. We didn't quite get the sweep of the low, but it looks like now we move up just slightly to here. Okay, wow, look at that sweep. And let's not forget about our fair value gap. Okay, let's see where this closes then. That was an aggressive candle. But either way, we do have the sweep of the low that we were looking for. We're coming up on 230. Not sure if we're going to get a change of direction or not, but let's just be aware of the time. And let's see if we get a new high, because that's what we're looking for. We had our first trigger, which was a high. Then we had a sweep of the opposite direction, low swept. And now we want to see a new high. So let's go ahead and mark that up so we can see when it occurs. And we'll get ready for the next one. Okay, we got a bounce. So far, we only have wicks. We have the bodies remaining above the 50%. Let's see if this one can do the same. We have 5 more seconds. No. Okay, so it closed below. So let's get rid of this. We now have a bearish fair value gap, and let's hope price can break through it and we can continue our bullish run. Okay, equal lows here. always a magnet for price. You even have the 50% level of this wick is also a magnet for price. So let's look and see if either of those two levels is where price wants to go before returning bullish. Okay, the bad thing about what's happening now is we're trading back into the previous areas that we already won trades on. So I'm not interested in any of these. I've already traded those sessions or watched these different setups deliver. So I'm not interested in trading these setups. But again, for the 70% on the last setup, for anyone who was waiting on that level, this might be an opportunity to dip into the 70% and then it delivers 5 points. I'm not saying it will, but anyone waiting for that, this may be an opportunity. CPI and monetary policy, is that this week? Unemployment on Thursday, GDP also on Thursday. PCE price index on Friday. University of Michigan consumer sentiment on Friday. Consumer confidence tomorrow on Wednesday. Tomorrow is building permits, but it's an orange folder, not a red one. No, CPI was last week. That's right. CPI was last week. Pump before and dump after. So you're saying it's going to dump now. Okay, we'll see. But thanks for that, rock bottom. You were spot on last week, I'll tell you that. All right, so we're going to put the brakes on bullish momentum for the time being. We had several lows swept. Oops. There we go. Now we have these equal lows up next. And then ultimately back to where we started. Or close to where we started, down at so these fair value gaps could come into play. So let's just stretch those out. And then go back to current price. Oh, looks like price is trying to run away from us. All right, I drew these lines just to make a point, but that point has been made, so I can get rid of them just so we're a little cleaner. Okay. Remember, back to the same area we just took those trades from. We want to make sure price digs through this fair value gap and closes on the other side. So let's go to the 15-minute time frame. Just take a peek. All right, so we see a small pullback going on right now for Nasdaq. Yes, something similar, roughly. Okay, the Dow is definitely making lows, leading the way again as the weakest pair. And on the dollar, we want to see the dollar pushing upwards, and we do. All right. Looks like the dollar may be reaching for morning highs. And if that's the case, we may reach for morning lows, which is okay. Morning lows are all the way down here. But let's just be patient for now. Let's continue on with the schedule program that we were looking at. We did lose some lows, so we don't want to just jump into a trade. We want to see these levels reclaimed. We want to see a new high made. And prior to that, we want to wait. We don't want to do anything. Okay, this black line represents those equal lows from just before 2 o'clock. You can see the resistance if you look at the 5-minute to the bottom left-hand screen, or the bottom left-hand of the screen. You'll see the 5-minute chart, and you'll see all the bullish fair value gaps that it's running into. And this is what's holding price and then pushing it up, actually. So we need to wait for that tug of war to end. Okay, all of these are relatively equal. I'm gonna step away for just 2 minutes. Let me grab something to drink. Make sure I'm able to talk for the last hour and a half of our session. Just give me one moment. Okay, we've seen it dip into this fair value gap now up to the 50% level. It's still trading below or closing below right now. We do want to see it get above and close above if we're going to see higher prices. Just took a peek at the weekly and the weekly chart, and the weekly chart does have a fair value gap at 16,945. So we entered it about 20 points ago, and it's a bearish fair value gap trying to push price down, which is why we're struggling to get above this region. 16,945. So right around this area here, this is when we entered on this side. And so it's just kind of been a struggle pushing through that fair value gap this entire afternoon session. So just to keep everyone aware, so you know exactly why price is not moving really fast. However, it's still putting in higher values, at least as of 20 minutes ago. Okay, we did get a close above this fair value gap, so we can remove it for now. One, two, and three. Yeah. Okay. Actually, a fourth. Okay. Always a good sign. See price continue to push upwards when we're looking for bullish setups. About another 7 points to go. We made it close, about 1.5 away. These fair value gaps are still holding up, which is also a good sign. Let's see if this can be the final push that we're looking for. We're right now 15 minutes before the hour. So we're closing out in the last quarter of the 2 o'clock hour, just before the power hour begins. Okay, we can take this off now. All right, moving down to some of the fair value gaps. It seems we did lose the one that was here. We had this candle closed below, so we dropped that one. We're now moving into this fair value gap. So let's see which one of these will hold and see which one will push price to a new high. Okay. Wait for the candle closure. All right, so both of these have been lost now. All right. Okay, now it's 12:50. So let's looks like maybe price wants to wait until power hour to do something or make its next move. There has been a good amount of upside to price today so far, without any news. So that's a good thing. Um, but things are moving a little slower this afternoon, it seems. Let's see. Yep. All right. So far we're looking at about 180 points up so far today from its lowest point. So that's actually pretty solid considering there was no news today. Generally, when there's an absence of news, you get 100 points maybe, and it just back and forth, just to stop everyone out. So today has actually been better than that. Um, but we can't expect it to just run all day without some volatility. All right, the price does seem to be willing to make higher values, which is good. We may have this high taken. We have equal highs right now. Let's see if we can get above 970 and a half. Okay, let's see if this is like where price bounces from. In the order block here, right down, and let's see if we can get a higher value, possibly push up um, above 973 and a half. Mm-hmm. All right, looking good so far. Righty, there we go. So we had those short-term highs taken now. We still want the most recent high to be taken, which then technically gives us a setup that is too large, at least too large for me. I don't want it. But according to our scalping model, or the scalping model that I use, we had a high, a sweep of a low here on the move down, and now we have a new high, or almost. We needed to break through, and then we'd be looking at this as an entry, but that's from here to down here. That's too large of a range for me, so I'm going to pass on that entry. Not to mention, I don't like how these previous entries are in the same range. So I'm going to watch it and pass and wait for the next setup. But we did get penetration above this previous high, so everything about the setup is satisfied for now. Okay, looks like it's starting to retrace. It hasn't made it all the way down to 16,965 and 3/4, but it is retracing. Not quite an entry, um, but there was a retracement that went close, but not quite there. We needed about another point down. So we'll see if the next couple candles delivers that. But if we do get a new high, so if we have this high broken, 16,974, then it's probably, if it breaks it by more than a handle, 1 or 2 points, it's probably worth reevaluating and see if it's going to create another setup a little bit higher. All right, looks like we just got a couple more people joining. Welcome, welcome. A couple minutes before 3 o'clock. And let's see if we can get a push up from here. Okay. Not yet. All right, 30% entries are not winners today. So this one did not win. Anyone who wanted that 30%, see if the 50%er can be a winner. Okay, so far, price has closed above the fair value gap. Okay, 50% did not win either. That was strong. And now even 70 percenters, it poked through the bottom, lost the trade as well. So that was not a setup that won for any of the entries. So again, I'll go over why I stayed out. The main reason for me staying out was because this retracement zone from here all the way down was too large of a range for a 5-point scalp. This would have been one where you've been looking for maybe a 10-point stop loss, 10-point take profit because of how large the range is. But even then, outside of entering at 50 with a 10-point, it would have been a losing trade. Let's see, 960, 50, 950, 50. Yep, even 10 points would have lost entering at 50%. So yeah, that would have been a difficult setup. And it was one I didn't like for that reason, because it was so large and because its large range stretched over previous trades, which were more favorable because the range was smaller, and those trades delivered as well. So there was no need to enter again in the same range. So what we're looking for now is, if we're still looking for longs, we want price to trade out and create a setup in this range that we haven't traded in yet. Okay, everyone, 3 o'clock. We're down to the last hour of today. Let's see if we can't get more people to come join us. So for everyone who's enjoying the content, please like, so YouTube can invite more people to join us. And let's hope we get a few more people for this hour. Okay. Looks like we might want to reclaim this level. So let's see what happens. We still have this fair value gap that never closed below. It just traded below and immediately rejected. We saw then the next candle come down, trade to the 50% and reject. And now we're seeing higher prices. So actually, not to confuse anyone, let's just get rid of this fair value gap, even though it's been reclaimed. It's not really relevant right now. On the way down, we had a fair value gap here created, which is now invalidated. Let's take these up as well, just so we know where they are. This one gets there we go. Okay, so these are the relevant levels for us right now. These are two resistance points that we have to run through in order to make new highs. Good news is, on our way down, we did sweep several lows, including this one. Now we're looking for higher prices. 5 minutes after the hour. Okay, let's now move through the zone. Let's see if we get a close on the other side. Not quite. Let's wait for the next candle. All right, so as price is moving upwards, let's just take some inventory here where we've been making higher prices this afternoon. However, once we got around 230-ish, 230, and we saw the retracement down, sweeping some lows, then we got a buy back up to just barely making a new high, and then we got almost a full retracement. So let's keep that in mind as we're watching price, so we don't get caught up into one of these where it's just in a range and it's racing from top to bottom, because that's not going to work well for our strategy. We need price to hold within like 7 or 8 points from the top. We can't have a full retracement, otherwise, yeah, the strategy will fail in those conditions. So that's why I was saying I hope that we make a new high and then we trade up into an area where we haven't really traded before, sweep down, take a low, make a new high, and then that becomes our setup. But we don't really want to set up down in here anymore because that would just represent price retracing back down, which again, it's not what we're looking for. And if I'm not mistaken, we still never got a close above this fair value gap. So that's still a point of interest for us. Volume imbalance here. It's always important where the candle closes, not where the wicks are, but where the candle closes. Okay, let's take a peek at the 5 minute just to make sure we're still bullish and there hasn't been any major interruptions to price action. Yep, the 5 minute is still bullish. So we're gonna hold our position and continue to monitor price. Yeah, we got about another 10 points down before we change our minds and start looking for bearish setups. Somewhere around 16,950, 16,948, somewhere in that range. So for now, we're still bullish, but we are getting concerned about price action. We want to start seeing higher highs again. This guy has been closed below. Okay, big rejection into this fair value gap, the one I just drew. Traded past it, rejected out, and then made a lower value. Just a couple minutes before 3:15, and so potentially we'll see price do something different very shortly. Okay. And we've now had back-to-back candles hit the 50% mark of this fair value gap and then reject out, closing below. Okay, so far this afternoon has not had the type of range that we saw earlier this morning. This afternoon's range from, I guess, right around 1 o'clock, or even if you take it from lunch, where the range is of roughly 50 points from low to high. Um, whereas this morning we saw a little bit over 100. And that could have a lot to do with the fact that we're running into, on a daily and weekly, we're running into fair value gaps that's been there since um, the all-time highs from January, like the first week of the year, 2022. So we're talking like 2 years ago. We're just now getting back to those prices. And there were a lot of bearish fair value gaps on high time frames that price is now running into. And because it's running into those areas, there's a lot of resistance. And so we don't see the price just running up like we did this morning. Okay, that one, this one. Now we have the other side over here. There we go. And then the same here. Right, I had a feeling 315 would give us something different than what we had been looking at for the last 30, 45 minutes. This one's gone as well. Last time we entered this area, we were in here for 8, 10 candles or so. Few wicks out, but all closures inside or below. Let's see if this time can be different and we'll get a closure above. Thank you everyone who's liked the video. Appreciate it so much. It's got to be one of the most liked videos in the collection, so that's awesome. And I see more concurrent viewers than normally, so that means YouTube is definitely finding us new traders who wants to view a live session. So this is excellent. It's exactly what we want. We want to grow. We want to let everyone know that we're here doing a live session and give everyone an opportunity to join us. Okay, so far still no closure above, but bouncing off of this fair value gap may be just what it needs to get over that hump. I mean, if you look at this fair value gap, it's, oops, sorry. It's almost in the exact same position as it was back here, right here. From here down to here. It's a little bit longer, but just barely. We traded through it. We got rid of it, traded back up and created the exact same space. So let's hope this time, this is a stronger position, which does provide some support to get us above this level. And not only trade above, but close above. Oh, there we go. Finally a punch through. Now, can we stay and close above? No. All right, we tried. We'll give it another go next candle. And we, not quite, not quite. Let's stretch this one over since this will come into play next, assuming we can get up there. All right, it looks like we did get a closure above, which is excellent. We'll remove this fair value gap. We don't want to see that anymore. And now we focus on the last one before our previous high. Yep. Still struggling to get through. But it's only just recently got here about a minute ago. So let's give it a couple candles and see if it can push through without taking out any swing lows. Okay. Remember we said we don't want to do the low to high, low to high. This is what I'm talking about. Yep. So we essentially came from here. We ran up and made a new high. Then we ran down and swept those lows. We made a new high. Didn't quite sweep the low, but we are at the very low end of the range. And now we're approaching highs again. So again, this is typical of what happens on days without volatility. Price doesn't really want to get too far away from where it was, and it retraces on itself a lot, especially in the afternoon. So let's just keep watching. But remember, this area, we took a setup here. We took a setup here. And then when this one came about, I said I didn't like that one. I didn't like the range. I didn't like that it was still in the range of the other ones, and we shouldn't take it. And we were proven right. And still, we don't want to set up in this area. So we're waiting for price to break out, hoping it could break out to the upside and give us at least a 15-point separation so we can get a new setup. Okay, unable to break these highs. Tried twice. We have equal highs here now. So let's see if it just needs to come down, grab some liquidity before it has enough momentum to get over. So this would be the next liquidity point. Come down and sweep and then potentially run through it. Right. The last time it entered this fair value gap, we've so far gotten a decent bounce out of there. Let's see now if we can retest this bearish fair value gap up at 16,972 and see if we can't break through it this time. Okay, looking good so far. Not having it. Not yet, anyway. Okay, it's now 3:30. We have 30 minutes left. This happens a couple times a week where we get stuck in a consolidation zone for an hour or so. Just awful when it's the end of the day because you don't have anything afterwards to to make up for that time where it was just consolidating. It's not bad when it does it from 1 to 2, and then at 2 o'clock you can start trading. All right, let's mark out our next swing low just in case it needs to pick up some liquidity. I'll mark out the next two since they're pretty close to each other. Yeah, it looks like we've taken both. Let me just remove these because that was the only thing I wanted to show, was that those were levels that if we take those, then we could possibly see the highs finally taken. But we do want to wait for bullish momentum out of this area. If not here, then want to see it come out of this fair value gap down here at 16,962. Okay, so we got price coming all the way down to the lower extreme of the fair value gap, and then we saw it close outside, so that's a good sign. Let's see if that can continue. If not, let's see if this fair value gap will hold price and then push it higher. All right, let's pay attention to the candle closure. That's what we're looking for. We want to make sure the candles close above the 50% line if it's going to remain bullish for this fair value gap. Otherwise, we want to see it tap into this fair value gap and close above the 50% line. Okay. Highly impulsive, the first 15 seconds of this candle. Let's see where it closes now. We're now at 335. We're running out of time, so let's see where price wants to go. At some point, it's going to have to make a move. Otherwise, it'll just consolidate until the closing bell. Okay, equal lows. We have a close below both of these fair value gaps, so we'll remove them off the screen, make it a little easier to see price. But essentially, we have this barrier at the very top at 16,972. That's holding price below. Now it's shooting for equal lows. Now at 957. And following that, we have a fair value gap down at 953. 100 points below here at around 850 is where the 8:30 open. I'm sorry, the midnight open is. And sometimes what we do see in the afternoon is price will charge towards the midnight open. May not necessarily achieve where the midnight open is, but it'll move in that direction, i.e. Bearish from where we are right now. Okay, so we had a dip below, a close above from these equal lows. Let's see if this was enough to get price above this barrier. Tried to get above. It retraced a bit. Tried it again, couldn't get up there. Retraced below this low, couldn't get back. And so now it just did a full retracement down to this low, which is the lowest low for the previous high, which technically, does it? Okay, no, we're still not bullish yet. Okay, remove this line. And let's see how price reacts when it gets to this fair value gap. Raymond Sanchez. What's GMBL? Not familiar with that acronym. Okay, so we got a full retracement into this fair value gap. A rejection, close above. Now see what this following candle will do. And let's see what else may be down here. All right, so we have the 50% level of the wick. Just gonna eyeball this, and it's out there. And then we have a swing low here. Let's keep an eye on those two levels. Okay, 50% of the wick. I can delete that now. Now it's another swing low from 230. So we're getting back to the levels we were at 230. I think it's safe to say we are moving in a bearish direction. However, even looking at like the 5-minute down at the lower left corner, we are still kind of 50-50. And 50-50 is never where you want to be when you're looking for a trade. You want your odds to be a little stronger than that. And so we're looking for a stronger reaction from price, which we may not get due to time and the fact that there was no news today. So price may not want to extend itself. Okay. Go ahead and put this right where it belongs. Let's get rid of this one. Okay, where to next? Okay, we've come down, bounced out of this one, went up, bounced off of this one. Okay, we're back down to 50% of this wick that we looked at earlier. Next would be the swing low at 230 or 235. And following that would be this swing low. You know what? I'm going to move this down to here, these equal lows. And then after that, we're back down to this fair value gap, which sent price up in the first place this afternoon, right at 145. We had a play off of it at the 50% mark. And then that was the last big move up from 942 up to about 974. So about 30 points was the last move. Okay, so 2 candles ago, I guess while I was playing around in these other candles up higher, we did have a candle dip all the way down and take out those 2 levels that I have marked up. With the southernmost one being these equal lows from 146, 147. Let's see if that was enough to now send price higher for the rest of the session. Not that we'll take out these highs up here, but we could just play up in this area. Another 10, 15 points higher. Okay, if we're going to get up here somewhere, this trend line will need to be broken. That's a good place for us to focus our attention. And we can remove these lines since we know that price has already traded below both of them. And remember, the next point of interest going lower was a fair value gap. Let me stretch that a little longer. There we go. Come out of here, take it off the minutes. Okay. Okay, we just passed 3:45, so we're down to less than 15 minutes before 4 o'clock. I do know that most of the prop firms will let you trade for 10 more minutes into the next hour, so a little bit over 20 minutes before everyone's trades need to be closed. Let's see if we get one last push before that time. Sometimes around this last couple minutes of the hour, or at least last couple minutes of the session, you'll see a big spike somewhere. Let's see if we get that. Okay, we're gonna break through this trend line. Okay, let's hope this is not what we're getting. Let's hope we don't get this. We don't want this for the rest of the day. Okay, we do have a breakthrough. Let's get rid of this. We don't need it any longer. Okay, before we get to the end of our session today and we all start to leave, I want to thank everyone for joining today. We're now into the third week of live streams, and the response I've gotten from you guys has been tremendous. It's been a lot of support. And I do want to thank you for joining. I want to thank you for being here and adding to the experience. It's been really rewarding for me, and I hope it's the same for you guys. So thank you for joining. Thank you for being here. Okay, relative equal highs. Looks like we might sweep. Make a run up for a small market maker. All right, let's see if we get a jump. I was just about to say, let's see if we get a spike out of here. And just as I said it, look at what happened. Got 7 or 8 points immediately, right from the 50% mark here. Okay, let's see if we can get a close above these two fair value gaps. Not yet. Okay, can we close above? Maintain a bullish presence? And the answer is yes. Okay, so if higher prices are being sought, market makers want to make sure that no one is in a trade for that. So they just swept lows. They want to make sure they take everyone out. And if lower prices are being sought, and they did sweep this high right here, so maybe that's where stop losses were placed. But yeah, pretty uneventful last hour or two. The last 2 hours, the 1 o'clock hour was better for us. This morning was even better than that. But there's always another day. There's always another trade, and we'll come back tomorrow and we'll do the same thing. All right. So I hope everyone got value from the session today. Not only seeing a setup that potentially you might want to use, but also seeing price action that you don't want to trade in. Um, there's lessons to be learned everywhere, and if not, just a little bit of entertainment. Um, so again, I want to thank everyone for joining today. Thank you for being here. I see price is not really cooperating with us to set up a new trade, but if you can hit the like button on your way out, or if you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button on your way out. That'll give you the invitation for tomorrow's session and all sessions afterwards. You even get a reminder 30 minutes before we come on. Um, but yeah, I'd love to see the community grow. If you have any friends that you think may enjoy this, go ahead and forward my username over to them and tell them to join the channel and start joining the live sessions. So we don't have to wait on YouTube to announce it or to push it out to new members. Just recommend someone that if you know traders that may be looking for a session like this. I'd love to have them. I'd love to see the group grow. Echelon the Seeker, thank you, thank you. It's good to have you on. Today's the first day we've spoken, so hope to see you again. And that goes out to everyone else. Don't be a stranger when you join the session. Say hi in the chat. Don't be shy. Don't feel like you can't. You can say anything, questions, comments, anything that you want to put in there. So we're gonna get ready to shut this down, and yeah, I hope to see you all again tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. We'll get this going again. Thank you for today's session. We'll talk soon. Ruben, welcome, welcome. Good to have you on. Glad to have you. And with that, enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good one. Thank you.